Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to go over the Delta Math assignment that you did using the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. And of course, we can't use a quadratic formula unless we know the quadratic formula. So we're going to sing the song again so that we can remember the quadratic formula. Here we go. Feel free to sing, join in, and
x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
That's right, sing it out nice and loud. Here we go.
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
That's my favorite part. Got the harmony here.
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Yay! Okay, now let's get back. Okay, so let's write it down. Okay. Wait, what happened? Oh no. Try that again. Here we go. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Sing that song. You have to memorize this. This has to be second nature to you. Okay, so let's see what we have. We have x. Well, in this case, it's q. Of course, we have to make it difficult, right? Q is equal to negative b. So I already have a negative 40, so it's negative 40 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 40 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 25, times c, which is 16. All over 2 times 25. Okay, so now it's just a matter of simplifying this. So we have q equals, this is going to be a positive 40, right? A negative turns into a positive. That was a lot of work just to change the color, wasn't it? Okay, plus or minus the square root of, right? Negative 40 squared is positive 1600 minus 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 16 is 1600 over 50. So we get 40 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 50, which equals 40 over 50, which is 4 over 5. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to write the formula again. I want to make sure we've got that formula memorized. Okay, x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so there's my formula. Okay, now this one is a little unique because in order to use this formula, we have to be working in the standard form of our equation, which is supposed to be equal to 0. Well, this doesn't equal 0. So in order to make it equal 0, we are going to subtract 6 from both sides. And we'll get 10d squared plus d minus 3 equals 0. Now we can use the quadratic formula. So d equals negative b. Okay, in this case, what does negative b equal? Right, it's 1. Okay, so we're going to do negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 1 squared, minus 4 times a, that's going to be 10, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2 times a, which is 10. So we get negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1. Okay, now I've got a negative 4 times 10, so that's negative 40. Negative 40 times negative 3 is positive 120. All over 20. So we have d is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 121 over 20. So d equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 121 is 11 over 20. So this time we're going to have two answers. D will equal negative 1 plus 11 over 20, which gives me 10 over 20, and that's 1/2. Okay, and then D is also equal to negative 1 minus 11 over 20, which gives me negative 12 over 20. And that reduces to negative 3 over 5. So we have two answers. Okay. Okay, here's the next one. Let's write down our quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so does this equation equal 0? Yes, it does. So we're good with that. So let's just do our equation. So we're going to get, this is a instead of x, which is so confusing, but that's okay. A equals negative b, so that's negative 13 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 13 squared, minus 4 times a, here's your a is 20, times c, which is 2, all over 2 times 20. So we get negative 13 plus or minus the square root of 169. 13 squared is 169, minus, we have 4 times 20, that's going to be 80, times 2. 80 times 2 is 160. All over 40. So we get negative 13 plus or minus the square root of 9 over 40. Or minus, what's the square root of 9? 3 over 40. So we get two answers. We have a is equal to negative 13 plus 3 over 40, and a equals negative 13 minus 3 over 40. So this is going to simplify to negative 10 over 40, or negative 1/4. And this one will simplify to negative 16 over 40. So let's see, 8 goes into 16 2 times, 8 goes into 40 5 times, so negative 2/5. Okay. Okay, next one. Okay, I'm writing the quadratic formula out each time just to refresh your memory. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so what does the quadratic equation have to equal? It has to equal 0. Does this equal 0? No, it does not. So what do we have to do? We're going to add 1 to both sides. And that's going to give me 25k squared plus 20k plus 4 equals 0. So now it equals 0. Now we can go ahead and we can solve it. What happened here? There we go. Okay, so k is equal to negative b, so that's negative 20, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 20 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 25, times c, which is 4, all over 2 times 25. K equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of, 20 squared, that's going to be 400, minus 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 4 is 400. Okay, you notice how I'm trying to be very neat and orderly with this so we can keep track of what we're doing, okay? All right, so k is equal to negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 400 minus 400 is 0 over 50. And we'll come up here. K is equal to negative 20 plus or minus 0 over 50. So that's just negative 20 over 50. So k equals negative 2 over 5. Okay, next one, number 5. Right, x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so what's the problem with this one? It does not equal 0. So we're going to subtract 6x squared from both sides. Okay, now this one is a little bit weird because I've subtracted the 6x squared, which is great. So that means on this side it equals 0. But over here, what am I going to do? I can't subtract 6x squared from 16. I have to subtract it from my like terms. And there's my like terms right there. So we're going to do 31x squared. Let me try and fix this and so it'll make more sense to you. I'm going to do it this way. 31x squared, I'm going to subtract the 6x squared over here. So 31x squared minus 6x squared gives me 25x squared. So we have 25x squared minus 40x plus 16 equals 0. Okay, so now we can go ahead and use our quadratic formula. So negative 40 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 40 squared minus 4 times a times 16. Boy, this feels familiar, doesn't it? All over 2 times a. Did we do this one already? Boy, it sure feels like it, doesn't it? That's interesting. Let's go back a minute. Look at this equation that we got after we subtracted the 6x squared, right? Look at this equation right here. 25x squared minus 40x plus 16. Look at that. Same one. Same problem. Right? After I subtracted the 6x squared, I ended up with the same problem. So I don't have to go through the process of solving it again. We already did it. What did we get as an answer? X equals, let's go back. X equals 4 over 5. Isn't that amazing? X equals 4 over 5. Okay? So after we subtracted the 6x squared, it ended up being the same problem. Okay, let's look at the next one. Is this one okay to go? Yeah, it sure is. So let's write our formula. Okay, I have to pause it a minute. Okay, so we have, in this case it's K, oops, what happened there? K equals negative 18 plus or minus the square root of negative 18 squared minus 4 times 9 times 5 all over 2 times 9. So we get positive 18 plus or minus the square root of 324, right? 18 squared is 324 minus, let's see, 4 times 9 times 5. So how can I make this easier? I can do 4 times 5 is 20. And then 20 times 9, I can do that. 20 times 9 will be 180 over 18. Okay, so that gives me 18 plus or minus the square root of 324 minus 180, that's going to be 144. Well, that works out nicely. Over 18. So we get 18 plus or minus the square root of 144 is 12 over 18. So we have K equals 18 plus 12 over 18, and K equals 18 minus 12 over 18. So let's see, this is 30 over 18. So 6 goes into 35 times. 6 goes into 18 3 times. So we get 5/3. And then down here, 18 minus 12, that gives me 6. So 6 over 18 is 1/3. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next one. We write our formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I'm sorry that they used weird variables here because it does kind of make it confusing. Don't get hung up on the fact that these are b's. You can rewrite it if you want to as x's. It's a shame that they used b because that gets confusing with the b in the formula. You can rewrite it as x's if that helps. Okay. So again, it has to equal 0. We need to make this equal to 0. So let's subtract 2 from both sides. And remember, when you subtract it on the left there, we want to have those like terms, okay? So we've got 5x squared plus 24x. The negative 3 and the negative 2, they're my like terms. So that's going to be minus 5 equals 0. So x is equal to negative b, so that's negative 24 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 24 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 5, right? 4ac all over 2a, so that's 2 times 5. So x is equal to, let's see, negative 24 plus or minus the square root. Okay, 24 squared, that's going to be 576. Now I've got a negative 4. Oops, didn't want to do that. Oy vey. Let's try and fix that now, huh? Okay. Let's try again. So I've got a negative 4. A negative 4 times a negative 5, okay? So negative 4 times a negative 5, that's going to give me a positive 20, right? Negative 4 times negative 5 is going to give me a positive 20. Then 20 times 5 gives me 100. So this is plus 100. All over 10. So we get negative 24 plus or minus the square root of 676 all over 10. So do we know the square root of 676? That's actually equal to 26. So we have that x equals negative 24 plus 26 over 10, and x equals negative 24 minus 26 over 10. This gives me a positive 2 over 10, or 1/5. And this gives me a negative 50 over 10, which is negative 5. Okay, we're getting there. Let's write our formula out. Okay, so I'm going to start by rewriting this because I don't like the fact that they used b's. Okay, so we're going to do 6x squared minus 24x plus 16 equals negative 3b squared. Okay, so what's our problem with this one? Yeah, it does not equal 0. So we're going to add 3b squared to both sides. But remember, we have to put it on with the like term, so we're going to put it over here. Oh, why did I use b? That was dumb. Sorry about that. This is going to be x squared. 3x squared, right? So we're going to add 3x squared to both sides. That's going to give me 9x squared minus 24x plus 16 equals 0. Okay, so x is equal to negative b, so negative 24, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 24 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 9, times c, which is 16, all over 2 times 9. I think I'm going to need my calculator for this one. All right, so x is equal to, I've got a negative 24. That's going to be a positive 24. And we're going to do the square root of, okay, what's 24 squared? 576 minus, let me see, 4 times 9 times 16. Oh, oops. I keep making mistakes. Okay, this is 576, and this is actually 576, so that's kind of nice. All over 18. So x equals 24 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 18. So we get x equals 24 over 18. So 24 goes into, 6 goes into 24 4 times. 6 goes into 18 3 times. So there's our answer. Okay. All right, so I think we only have 2 more. All right, x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so let's rewrite it using x's so that it doesn't confuse us. Okay, so what's the problem here? So the problem is that it equals negative 1. Oh, this highlighter is not cooperating, is it? Okay, let's try this again. Get my pen back. All right, the problem is that it's equal to negative 1. So what are we going to do? We're going to add 1 to both sides. Okay? And that's going to give us 9x squared minus 7x minus 20 equals 0. So x is equal to negative 7 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times 9 times negative 20 all over 2 times 9. So x is equal to positive 7 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared. That's going to be positive 49. Okay, here we have again, we have a couple negatives going on here. Let me see if I can manage to get this highlighter correct. Okay, I've got negative 4 and negative 20. So that's going to give me a positive 80. So positive 80 times 9 is positive 720. Over 18. So we get 7 plus or minus the square root of 769 over 18. That doesn't feel right, does it? Let me see. What's the square root of 769? No, something's wrong. I made a mistake somewhere. I added 1, so that gave me negative 20. Okay, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Okay, let me do that on my calculator instead of doing it in my head. 4 times 9 times 20 is 720. Plus 49, 769. So, where is the mistake? Oh, I found the mistake. Okay. Okay, so my mistake is that I copied the problem down wrong. That's terrible, isn't it? So, this is actually a 6, not a 9. Okay, it's not going to let me erase it, so. Ooh, what a mess, huh? Okay, so this is supposed to be a big gigantic 6 right here, right? So that's going to be 6, 6, okay. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so now we have negative 4 times negative 20 is positive 80 times 6 is positive 480 all over 2a. Let's just double check that arithmetic. 4ac, so 4 times 6 times 20. Okay, so then we get 12 down here. So it's 7 plus or minus the square root of 529 over 12. And yes, I'm sorry I made that mistake. X is equal to 7 plus or minus square root of 529 is 23 over 12. So x equals 7 plus 23 over 12, which gives us 30 over 12. And that reduces to 5 over 2. 6 goes into 35 times, 6 goes into 12 2 times. And we have another answer. X is equal to 7 minus 23 over 12. All right, 7 minus 23 gives us negative 16 over 12. So let's see, 4 goes into 16 4 times, so that's negative 4. And it goes into 12 3 times, so negative 4/3. Okay. All right, one more. Okay, so let's change these to x's. Okay, this equation already equals 0, so we've got x equals negative b, so that's negative 21, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 21 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 10, times c, which is 9, all over 2 times a, which is 10. So x equals negative 21 plus or minus the square root of 21 squared, so 21 squared is 441, minus, right, let's see, I'm going to do the 10 times 9. 10 times 9 is 90, times negative 4, that'll be negative 360 over 20. So x equals negative 21 plus or minus the square root of 441 minus 360, which is 81 over 20. So we know the square root of 81, right? That's going to be 9. So I have that x equals negative 21 plus 9 over 20, and x equals negative 21 minus 9 over 20. So this gives me negative 11. Wait, no it's not, it's negative 12. Negative 12 over 20. And let's see, 4 goes into 12 3 times, so that's negative 3. And 4 goes into 25 times, so we get negative 3/5. And here we get negative 30 over 20, which is negative 3/2. Da, 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 da. And we're finished. Okay, so you need to know the quadratic formula. You have to have it memorized. We will have a quiz on this Monday. We have a quiz Monday. Okay, quiz. When is the quiz? Monday. Quiz on the quadratic formula is Monday. Okay, I will take just a couple minutes or a few minutes at the beginning of class to answer any of your questions. Okay, but expect a quiz on Monday. Okay. So we just solved 10 quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. The trickiest part was when we had to do something here. Okay, so on some of the problems, right, like this one, it has to equal 0. So we added 1 to both sides so it would equal 0. Right, on this one, we had to add 3x squared, right? It has to equal 0. That's the trick, okay? All right, I will see you Monday.